I am especially honored to be doing this before all of you. I cannot believe that I've managed to get such a powerhouse panel of people to show up for this. Um, and I'm under the impression that, since I have all of these megas on my panel tonight, a lot of you out there listening have no idea who the fuck I am. And that's okay. I hope that after tonight that changes. But if you don't know me, my name's Tapley. I've been working on a deep dive Jeffrey Epstein files investigation for the greater part of about 8 months. Now, last year, roughly about 1 year ago, I was feeling very politically frustrated. I somehow ended up on the TikTok live debate space. Uh, I think the first panel that I actually ever saw was Montana's, believe it or not. It was infuriating. And then I pivoted over to Mojo's. I believe he was the first live I ever loved. I watched for a couple of weeks. I didn't have the guts to ever hit request up, but I was a master debater in high school. I was a Lincoln Douglas guy, cross-examination guy, old skill. And after a couple of weeks, while watching these people and trying to build up the guts, I finally did hit request up. And very quickly, I posited myself as a pretty good debater in this community. I made friends with all of you. And that in and of itself was life-changing and just therapeutic in terms of just how I was feeling politically. And then by the summer, once the Jeffrey Epstein case came back into public consciousness, I realized I didn't know anything about it. So it felt, like I needed to do due diligence and start doing some research, right? So I knew how to argue the facts. And I ended up on this article called Teen Girls, Powerful Men, an Inside Look. Sorry, I'm butchering this. Sorry, Guardian. It's called something like Teen Girls, Powerful Men, Inside the Elite Model Look at the Year's contest. And it detailed Donald Trump's association with three notorious French perverts, Jean-Luc Brunel, John Casablancas, and Gerald Marie, the three heads of the most powerful modeling agency in the world at that time, Elite Model Management. Donald Trump hosted these at his properties. He co-funded them, and he was a judge. The article was fascinating. It pierced right through me. And reading that article without doxing my friend, I knew that I had a question for my best friend. My best friend was a former crown holder of the Miss Universe organization. I'm not going to say which. I'm not going to say which year. Let's say around turn of the century, okay? Point is, my best friend for over half of my life told me, I asked her a series of questions. And in that line of questions, I got one name, which on day one turned into a shocking reveal, which to this day remains my greatest lead that I've held very close to my chest. I'm not done investigating it yet. Point is, it was basically that moment that basically turned into this entire thing. And here I am 8 months later, and I've sacrificed everything for this. Since I've been doing this, I gave up my job, again, without doxing anybody. I was an elite waiter at one of LA's most popular restaurants, very high paid job that I liked a lot. But unfortunately, owner of said company turned out to be one of Trump's biggest donors in the last election cycle. And for the money that he contributed, it seems as if he was appointed an ambassador to a European country. Therefore, I didn't really feel safe given that most of my cohorts at work knew what I was up to. And on top of that, ethically, I couldn't live with myself, knowing that I was exceptionally skilled at extracting money from Beverly Hills MAGA to then hand over to my boss, to hand over to Trump, who fucking hates my guts. So, and through the process, I've lost that job. I've disturbed my best friend who has begged me every step of the way to stop this. I've scared my lover, and I've scared myself. I hate knowing what I know, but that said, I'm really proud of the work that I've done. All of it to say is, throughout the process, it's important to know that this debate community that I just kind of ended up in out of political frustration also became my investigatory team. I was able to meet really talented individuals from across the planet, and a small crew of us together have made basically an Avengers-style coalition of citizen sleuths who have never been interested on waiting and even waiting for the files at all. We've always known that they were going to be heavily redacted, impartial, etc., and so on. Therefore, my team, which consists of, as far as people you're familiar with goes, Kate Fox Esquire, Gel, who you might know on the app, and some other people you haven't really heard of. But the point is, they've been my guiding light, and I couldn't have done any of this without them. Now, all of that said, again, I have become the de facto expert on this app. Okay, as far as Epstein goes, you guys bat signal me all the time. I'm here to apply context, but I've shown you very few of my hands, and I have a lot of hands to show you. But tonight, what I'm going to present to you is something that I have found along with some of my cohorts over the last roughly 4 days, okay? And the reason I'm bringing this to you tonight is because it's one of the rare times that I managed to get a fully closed loop. Most of my best leads, I'll still continue to be investigating for months. It's a long process. That said, the final thing that I want to say, now that you kind of have an understanding of like what I'm doing, why I'm doing, or I'd like to kind of tell you just very quickly why I'm doing this. All right. Aside from the fact that I have the free time, I have the intellectual prowess, I have the curiosity, more than anything, I'm fucking sick of this shit. And on top of that, I am a survivor of extreme sexual abuse. Part of this work, of course, is to advocate for the victims directly tied to this case. But make no mistake, every single day, I'm saving myself. I was sexually abused whenever I was 3 years old. After being abandoned by my feckless parents, I was left with my grandparents, who were both not retired at that point. So I had to be put in childcare, like a day or daycare inside of a home. I'm from a tiny town with 230 people in West Texas. It was nothing fancy. I went to a woman named Lois's house. Lois had two teen boys. My first memory is at Lois's house. It's in her bathroom. It was unfinished. I remember raw fiberglass on the wall with whatever you call it. It didn't have drywall up yet. It was just beams, the pink fuzz. I remember a bare bulb on a utility wire hanging out of the ceiling, and I was in a shallow bath. Next thing I know, I hear laughter that's not mine. And I see two silhouettes, a 14-year-old, a 17-year-old. I see erect penises. I see pubic hair. And before you know it, I have genitals in my mouth. And the fucked up thing is it wasn't even scary. It was gently coerced. I was groomed. I think I even remember a part of myself wanting more before I even had the language to know like what precocious even meant. It ruined me. And unfortunately, although my grandparents gave me a really wonderful life, once it was revealed what happened to me, because I was routinely molested several times by these two individuals, and once I got injured and I innocently exposed what happened to me, and my grandmother knew what happened, of course, she confronted Lois, she confronted the two teen boys with my grandfather, and in the end, Lois tugged on my grandma's heartstrings. Boys will be boys. This will ruin their reputation, and this is a tiny, God-fearing town. Please don't do this, more or less. And unfortunately, in spite of the fact that I maintain she's a good woman and she's still with us, huge failure. She listened to Lois. I didn't go to therapy. I got abandoned again. And I've talked to her about this as an adult, and she told me it's the greatest regret in her life, because she remembers thinking at the time, the way she compartmentalized it was, surely he's going to be too little to remember. And unfortunately, I do. So all of it to say is, yes, I'm doing this for the people because I know you don't have time. Yes, I'm doing this for victims, but I'm especially doing it for little Tapley. I'm very terrified to do this. In the last week, my exceptionally rare name is foremost trending in an alarming area. That would be St. Martin's, aka Billionaires Row, aka where all the billionaires get together and party every New Year's Eve, aka where Donald Trump has a property, the Rothschilds, Mark Zuckerberg, the list goes on. You are my blanket of protection. Anybody monitoring me must be aware that I have hundreds, if not thousands, of you hanging on my every word every time I get on a panel. I don't need anything from you except your attention, and I thank you for being here. And I would like to start the show. If you would give me just give me like 2 minutes. I just got a file that I need for this presentation, so please relax. Talk amongst yourselves for less than like 120 seconds, and I'll be right back to you. Okay? Thank you.
Not it.
Can't hear you, Olive. I'll just do this so he's just not doing his thing on the main screen. So,
oh man, that just my heart's just broken right now just listening to that.
Yeah, and I think it's just important for people to know why he's doing what he's doing. You know, there's a lot of risk involved, but Tapley is a very incredible human, and I think we're all very lucky to have some.
We just do. We've got to do better as a country. We've got to protect our children, and I'm hoping that the Epstein files is the start of us taking this stuff a lot more seriously and protecting the children in the United States and around the world. I mean, this is crazy.
And I think this is an opportunity to thank Matt, Facts Still Matter, Roxy Politics, Dan, RTP, Pickles, Good Trouble. You know, you guys are fighting the good fight every time you host, every time you request up to somebody else's panel. You know, the voices are. I'm just going to mute Tapley. Give me 1 second here. Sorry. Oh, he's back. Okay. All right. Why can't I unmute him?
Before Tablet gets started, I'm gonna what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop down so you can bring on another creator. But for everyone who's here who came from my live, thank you guys for coming in. I do appreciate you having me up. But I want to give let another creator be up. There's a lot more heavy hitters here besides me. But I'm gonna stay and listen. And so, guys, if you're here from my live, I'm still going to be here listening. I appreciate you having me, friend. But I am going to drop, and so please feel free to bring someone else up. Okay.
Thank you so much, Matt, for being here.
All right. Thanks, friend.
Much love.
All right.
Let's expand Tapley.
And everything's pretty good to go. Let's get this just a little bit. By the way, guys, look at this. Can you see this? I ordered a retractable. I ordered a retractable wand for this. Okay, so all right. Now, you guys ready to get started? So
absolutely.
The way we're gonna start in the most recent data set. Okay. Now, if you were to go look in the set yourself, you were to enter a few keywords. Let's say. You could tie this to Jeffrey Epstein. You could find this through Gerald Marie. You can find it through Jean-Luc Brunel. You could also find it through Alan Kittler. That would be Jeffrey Epstein and 3 of his associates, heads of elite model management. Again, during peak pop culture era, 80s, 90s, the most important modeling agency in the world. Okay? So, on top of that, another keyword that you'd want to look at is this. E-management. All right. Now, let's move over to the next slide, if we may, please. Thank you. Now, perusing through the emails, I learned that it appeared that these 4 gentlemen, again, Jeffrey Epstein, those 3 men from Elite Model Management, in the mid-early aughts, so let's say 2005 to 2010-ish, you'll see that essentially, as a headline, these men appeared to be plotting a mega agency called E-Management. All right.
Tapley?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Hey, Jill, if you're listening, how dare you for calling me during this? Please. Okay, sorry. Can't talk. I have everything I need. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's just go through this email here again. Okay, so this is going to be in the files. So, oh, sorry. No. This is media reporting. All right. So let's just go through these two bricks real quick. All right. Donald Trump will be paid a record-breaking $1 million an hour for Learning Annex appearances in 3 cities this year. That's over $16,000 a minute. Since it was founded in 1980, the Learning Annex has featured such celebrity teachers as Sarah Jessica Parker, Tony Robbins, Deepak Chopra, and Henry Kissinger. The previous highest fee was $28,000 paid to Ron Wood nearly 20 years ago when he was a member of the Rolling Stones. Trump's How to Succeed in Real Estate hits Los Angeles on May 1st, Chicago on October 23rd, and New York on November 6th. Learning Annex president / founder Bill Zinker said, quote, last time he taught for us, over 20,000 students came, and this year, he's even bigger. Mogul lusts for model shop right below. Is billionaire financier Jeffrey Epstein making a bid for IMG models? As we reported last summer, Epstein tried to buy elite models when the bankrupt agency was auctioned off. In 2003, we reported that Epstein, who's been described as, quote, a connoisseur of beautiful women, was talking to Karen Models owner Jean-Luc Brunel about doing a deal, but it went nowhere. Epstein has also met with Elite's Gerald Marie and One Management's Scott Lips. Now we hear Epstein has been having talks with fellow billionaire Teddy Forstman, who paid $750 million for the IMG Group a few months ago, about buying the company's modeling division, which reps the like of Gisele Bündchen, Kate Moss, and Heidi Klum. Reps for IMG and Forstman deny any such negotiations are taking place. Epstein's rep did not return calls. Forstman has been talking to top Hollywood talent agencies about a possible merger. All right. So this is just kind of to show you, like Genesis kind of in reporting, right? That we start to see that this is this is a conversation that's starting to happen in public between 2003, 2004. Keep in mind, 1999 Elite models went down. For reasons we don't even really need to get into that, but basically they had to rebrand and rebuild. So let's move on to the next slide really quick. And this is kind of the more boring stuff, but it's about to get really interesting, okay? Now, this is from March 2006, page 6, reporting on e-model management, all right? Now, French model mogul Jean-Luc Brunel is behind e-model management. The New York agency Elite Europe's Gerald Marie is said to be opening soon. A source close to Redacted, now, of course, this is in the emails that I found this, tells page 6 he's inked a deal to rep Elite Europe's models in the US. After Marie and new Elite New York owner Eddie Trump, which I have a whole thing about Eddie Trump that just started. This is like developing news that I don't even have, like, we can talk about this after the live, but that's a whole other thing. Shout out to Becca Day for actually connecting the dots on Eddie Trump, but more on that later. Now, failed to come to terms. Elite New York and Elite Europe, once part of the same network, are now separate on titles. Yes, titles, and Elite Europe's Elite Europe's decision to open its own New York agency puts the former allies in direct competition. It goes on. The point is just more context within the email to prove to you guys that, again, Jean-Luc Brunel, Gerald Marie, and as we saw in the last slide, Jeffrey Epstein in this era were looking to build something called e-model management. All right, next slide, please. Just one moment. Thank you. Now, just for a little bit of extra cooperation here, you'll see this is Brunel, Jean-Luc versus Jeffrey Epstein, an excerpt from a lawsuit, okay? This is Brunel suing Jeffrey Epstein. Now, let's just localize this here. Next, plaintiff Brunel started the company E-Management to work with Elite models in Paris. Plaintiff had to close it almost immediately because Elite didn't send any models to plaintiff MC2 for fear of being linked to Epstein. Kind of boring, whatever. Let's move on. Next slide. All right. And just so we see here, this slide is E-Management New York Incorporated corporate documents listed in investigation as evidence in the filing cabinet. So again, this is something that you see in the emails that shows you that there was an official filing. It is called E-Management New York Inc. Okay? Elite SA, Articles of Organization, whatever. We don't need to go through any of that. Again, we're just like quadruply showing you within the context of a little reporting as well as the files that this was definitely a thing that these people were kind of conspiring to do again in the early aughts. All right. Let's move on. That might be, let's see. Then here, just for funsies, so if you don't know Darren Endike, he would be Jeffrey Epstein's long-term lawyer since at least 1995. And here you'll see a list of different corporations, essentially, or things that he incorporated. And the reason I'm showing you this is here, E Management New York LLC. We see that he definitely filed E Management New York LLC. So you cannot detach this from Jeffrey Epstein, okay? This is his personal lawyer. Let's move on to the next slide. Is that it? Okay, great. So now, just give me one moment. We're going to open up a whole different slideshow now that kind of more boring setup is out of the way. This is where things should start to get a little bit more fun, all right? Now, so outside of the files, we're leaving the files completely, all right? And this is where I just started to go down the rabbit hole in conjunction with Gel. And so here we go. I went looking just to double corroborate the fact that Darren Endike did in fact file E Management New York LLC. This is from bizprofile.com, and you will see all of the filing information here. Notice the company name, E Management New York LLC, okay? And this was filed first on May the 2nd, 2006. And you'll see that the company is 19 years and 9 months old because it's still active, as you can see here in green. Somebody still pays to ensure that this stays operational. All these, literally exactly 20 years later, okay? Next slide, please. Just the arrow this time. This is a different program. Oh, but hit play. There we go, hit play. Perfect. Okay, thank you so much. Now, what I did after that, I just typed in e-management, e-agency, any iterations of those that I could think of, right? It's a very nebulous kind of business name, so I immediately assumed I would get multiple hits, and I did. However, this was one of the very first ones that I clicked on, and look at it. How boring. What a nebulous nothing site, right? You see EMA, E-Management Agency, creative. We connect talented influencers with powerful brands. What we do, digital strategy, design and content, talent. Start an influencer campaign. Get started, all right? Then, next slide, please. I noticed the contact information down at the bottom here, yes? And it says, contact us for more information, david@davidmarmon.com. Who the fuck is David Marmon, right? So then I go to davidmarmon.com, all right? And it has like a weird backlink to emanagementagency.com, but the domain's no longer paid for, right? It's just kind of a dead site. But I go into the Internet Archive. I get a hit in right here. It's 2016 about me. I haven't surfed the waves of Stargan Island or climbed Mount Everest. Those are still bucket list items. I've made it my life's goal to be as creative as I can in everything I do. I shoot stills for myself and others, design websites, light movie sets, and dabble in business ventures. I have won a number of design awards, though I am not convinced they were deserved. I'm a strong believer in community and collaboration. Let's be friends. Better yet, let's climb Mount Everest together. What I do, web design, photography, adventure, fitness. Again, pretty nebulous. What is going on here? Next slide. But then I find on the archive another capture in 2017. Same site. Now I have a face. Look at him. He can't wait to meet you. Again, it's the same kind of pull quote that he used in the 2016 capture, but luckily now I have a face to work with. Yeah. So I have a name, I have a face, and remember the name is David Marmon. All right, next slide. Beautiful. So then now that I know David Marmon's name, I wonder if said individual might have ever filed any LLCs himself. And turns out he did, 4 of them. People Page, who cares? Canatara, who cares? But you can imagine my shock when I see Trump Publican and Trumpocrat. Yeah? And then right next to it, I see Trump Publican, or where it says Trump Publican, Trump for President LLC. Right beneath that, Trumpocrat, Trump for President LLC. You can imagine that my jaw was on the floor. Next slide, please. Then, this is just like a fuller blown up view of kind of the entire page, yeah? And so let's just localize Trumpocrat right here. Again, Trump for President LLC. First use, date, July the 12th, 2014. Okay, and there's a serial number here. All right. Now, if you kind of go down and look, you'll see that the first actual use of it in terms of commerce would be 21 January 2015. Okay. Owner contact information. Trump for President LLC. Okay. Filed by attorney David Marmon. Filed by law firm David Marmon. And I'm like, wow, I mean, just several years ago, he was just like a photographer, I thought, right? And he wanted to climb Mount Everest. He's an attorney too? I'm confused. Next slide. And just to show you, it's the exact same thing, but for the other term. The other was Trumpocrat. This is Trump Publican. Same information. Trump for President LLC, David Marmon, moving on. Now, just for double corroboration, I also went on to the USPTO site, so the United States Patent Trademark Office. Again, Trumpocrat. After I put in David Marmon's name, of course, and so I got the same 4 hits. The other 2 LLCs, don't worry about them; they're nebulous, like whatever marketing agencies like the last one. But again, Trumpocrat, Trump for President LLC, Trump Publican, Trump for President LLC. Same thing. First use in commerce, 21 January 2015, abandoned by 12 March 2015. All right. So we've seen both of those on USPTO. Moving on. And just so you have kind of a blow up of the USPTO, I thought that I would go ahead and fill that in. Now, I want you to pay attention here. Again, Trump for President LLC. The owner address is on Cordedaria Street in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Now, it's not really important to understand why, but I actually had just finished having a conversation of I need to incorporate for all of the stuff that I've been up to lately and detach myself basically from my brand, if you will. So I actually recently just got advised that the best place to incorporate would be New Mexico for reasons. All right. So I kind of just had that conversation and I was like, can we go to the next slide, please, actually? Actually, back up for a second. Never mind. More on New Mexico in a few minutes, actually. Okay. So what I do want you to do, though, is I want you to look here where it says attorney name, David Marmon, and then it says attorney primary email address. It says miscellaneous at 501c3go.com. So I went to 503cgo.com. Next slide.
My apologies, Tapley. How do you spell Marmon?
Marmon.
O-N. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
Don't be sorry at all. And please, anybody, if you have questions, if you need clarification, totally fine to interrupt me. So I get to this site, 501c3success.com. Yes. It says, start your nonprofit today. Welcome to 501c3 Success. If you're looking to start your nonprofit, you've come to the right place. The team here at 501c3 Success is ready to help you with every step of your nonprofit journey. We have a world-changing team and top-notch service and upgraded streamlined systems. We are working on updating our website, so forgive the construction zone. We're available to help you anytime. Please email us at such and so on. Look at this creep. Let's move to the next slide. Meet David. All of a sudden, I have another David Marmon, which this was super fucking confusing, but more on that in just a moment. Meet David. David G. Marmon is our value consultant. He is a Harvard-trained attorney and a nonprofit expert. He founded the original nonprofit information service, 501c3GO, in 1981. Over the past 43 years, he has helped thousands of happy clients reach their 50c3 dreams. The long and short of it is, I was initially very confused when I saw this person's face because I was like, who is that much younger person on the e-management site? Like, maybe I'm really off the track here. Like, I think I just backed myself into a brick wall. Just like many threads that I've gone down, I almost assumed that I was like hitting a nothing burger. Simple point is, this is David Marmon Sr. The other guy you've met, who you're about to learn more about, is his son. Okay. Now, I said we're going to talk a little bit more about New Mexico LLCs and why one would incorporate there. Okay. And straight up, this is from ChatGPT. I'm not a fucking lawyer. I don't know anything about incorporating. So I asked it, what would be the advantage, like what is the advantage of filing for LLCs or S corps in the state of New Mexico versus other states? Please don't file, people don't file LLCs in New Mexico because they love the desert. They file there because New Mexico doesn't ask questions. That's it. New Mexico is one of the few states where you can form an LLC and not list the actual owners publicly. No members, no managers, no annual report. You file it, you hire a registered agent, and on paper, the only thing anyone sees is a mailing address and a generic service company. You could be running a cupcake shop. You could be holding real estate. You could be operating a perfectly legal consulting firm. Or you could be running something you'd rather not have your name attached to. And that's the point. The attraction isn't taxes. New Mexico doesn't have some magical corporate loophole. The attraction isn't prestige like Delaware. It's not branding like California. It's not even cost. Though it's cheap, it's opacity. If someone is running escort services or anything adjacent to that world, they have a few problems to solve. They need a legal entity to open a bank account, an EIN to process payments, a company name to put on contracts, a structure to sign leases on rent properties, something to put behind ads or websites. But they don't want their personal name in a public database. Journalist connecting dots. Civil plaintiffs tracing assets easily, competitors or angry clients finding them. New Mexico solves the public exposure problem. You form an LLC, you use a registered agent, your name never shows up in the state charts. If someone Googles the company, they hit a wall. Now, here's where it gets more interesting. If you're operating in California or Texas or Florida, but your LLC is in New Mexico, you've created distance, geographic distance, legal distance, jurisdictional friction. That doesn't make you untouchable, but it does make things slower, messier, more expensive for someone trying to trace you. And in gray or high-risk businesses, friction is protection. There's also rotation. New Mexico doesn't require annual reports, so if an entity gets burned, bad press, chargebacks, complaints, you can dissolve it, abandon it, or just let it lapse and spin up a new one. Low compliance. Low paper trail continuity, clean reset. That's classic shell behavior. Now, let's be precise about something important. New Mexico anonymity is public facing. It hides you from civilians, journalists, angry exes, and casual searches. It does not hide you from banks. Under federal law, banks still collect beneficial ownership information. FinCEN's rules require companies to report real owners to the federal government. So if the feds really want to know who's behind it, they can. But the average person, again, they hit a wall. So when you see a vague consulting, marketing, or management LLC out of New Mexico connected to escort-style operations, it doesn't automatically mean crime, but it means someone prioritized privacy. Let's move on. Do you hear that word, escort? Meet the real David Marmon, the one I first connected with. David Marmon Jr. I found him on Instagram. He has 103,000 followers. He's a talent agency. He's a CEO at Penrose. He wants to connect with the top 30 agencies powering the industry. He's in Los Angeles and Salt Lake City, Utah. And look at these pictures. Wow. What babes. High end. Looks like they love to party. Looks like they love to travel. Let's just zoom in on his face real quick. Here, I got the bigger pic right here. See, there we go. Gorgeous. And let's just get a wider spread here, please, of the Instagram page. So you see the kind of content we're dealing with here. Interesting, right? Now, something else that stood out to me, of course, is this. ChoosePenrose.com. Let's click on it. Next slide. Penrose. We connect high-earning creators with vetted, high-performance agencies who deliver real results. Hashtag OnlyFans. Hashtag Penrose. And this is from TW Stalker, by the way. Penrose, 5 months ago. Your next big step starts here. Learn more. ChoosePenrose.com. The top OnlyFans agencies are looking for you. At Penrose, we smoothly match creators with top agencies best suited to meet your traffic and growth goals, all at no cost to you. Get matched with Penrose vetted agencies now. Work with experts with powerful networks and proven industry tested strategies. ChoosePenrose.com. Apply now. Boost your OF social collabs. Next slide. And just more pictures, exclusive for OnlyFans, high-earning creators. Now that you're earning, consistency is the key. Get matched with Penrose vetted agencies that drive consistent opportunities. We execute, and by the way, so to be fair, this is TW Stalker, not the Penrose proper site. I just kind of mashed them all together, but this is Penrose proper here, okay? So here you can apply for a match. Quote, we execute with excellence, deliver value fast, and communicate openly because the best results come from clarity, trust, and momentum. Sincerely, the Penrose team. What's your name? Alias or real name, whatever you prefer to be introduced as. Type your answer here. And doesn't this get a little sexy, even though it's still nebulous? Let's move on. Your concerns are valid. If you're feeling this, you're not alone. You've built something valuable and it makes sense to protect it. We work with creators who've had the same questions, whatever. Let's go back to his Instagram page right here. Let's scroll down to his very first post ever. On behalf of the EMA team, a big thank you to all models, photographers, and sponsors who made our launch collaboration event truly unforgettable. Then, in this same post, he tags the company's X account, which is right here. EMA Management Agency. E-Management Agency. E-Management OnlyFans Agency specializes in creating OnlyFans careers to the top 0.1% with specialized growth programs. Get an offer today, Huntington Beach, California. They haven't even posted shit. It's been sitting there for like 3 years. Moving on. So then, my question becomes, I feel like I've heard that word before, Penrose. Penrose. I couldn't figure it out, didn't know what it means. So I asked Gemini, and this answer right here highlighted really stood out to me. Penrose staircase. An impossible object, impossible staircase in parenthetical. Okay? And it clicked for me. I said, I just actually was it reminds me of an Escher drawing, those pencil drawings. Next slide, please. Like this. I remember these kind of hanging up at my school. I was like, it's an impossible staircase, right? And then I thought to myself, I was like, why did I recently think of Escher? It's like within the last few weeks, I racked my brains and then, aha. Hold on just a second, not next slide yet. Hold on. So, aha. Just quick little side quest. Over the past couple of months, I've become extremely close to a man named George Haraney. We text all the time. He's really lovely. He's an old man. He's not in great health. But if you don't know him, he is the only person that Donald Trump ever partnered with as far as pageants go. After the 1991 and or in an official sense, like, yes, he was associated with the French guys. They were technically in business together in the 91 and 92 Look of the Year contest, in which there were multiple allegations of assault from judges, especially David Copperfield, the average age of contestant being 14 to 22, but I don't even have time to really get into that. The point is that those two pageants went so badly and they were optically toxic that Donald Trump had to pivot in 1993 and try out a different pageant system. And he paired up with George Heraney and his wife, Jill Harth. They did a pageant together at Trump's Casino in 93. And apparently, it went so well that it shattered records at the casino. They sold, according to George, sold $2.5 million that weekend. And although Trump's casino was normally at about 40% capacity, they overflowed it to the point, or to the extent that they had to book 120-ish or something like that, different rooms at an opposing hotel. And long and short of it is, Trump fucked him over in business. George had to sue him for a little north of $100,000 because Trump is a terrible business person and a liar. And then his wife, Jill Harth, sadly, ended up being the first person to ever actually sue Donald Trump for SA. She alleges that she was assaulted twice. The most egregious event being, apparently they were taking a walking tour of Mar-a-Lago at some point, and then he shoves her into Ivanka's room and grabs her by the pussy. And this would have predated the Access Hollywood tape, or the Billy Bush tape, by about, 12 years? Seems to be a trend for him. But anyway, point is, I've gotten to know George, and I realize that he is the reason why I thought of Escher recently, because of this. Moving on, please, to the next slide. George sent me a letter. This letter, December 2nd, 1993, Mr. George Heraney, Chairman of Operations, American Dream Festival, Boca Raton, Florida. Dear George, my congratulations to you, Jill, and your staff for successfully planning, promoting, and producing a fantastic event. The American Dream Festival surpassed all my expectations, and I am confident it will be bigger and better each year. Bravo for a job well done. Sincerely, Donald J. Trump. I mean, he seemed so pleased. It went so well. And George alleges that Donald Trump's then secretary even called him when she sent this letter and said, Trump never sends these. You should frame this. What a compliment. And turns out he did. This is literally a photo of this letter hanging on George Heraney's wall. And the first thing that stood out to me is, in spite of the fact that Donald insisted when we got the birthday book, right? That this couldn't be a signature. He doesn't do his D's like that. Well, it looks like he did in 1993 before the birthday book, but kind of regardless, this up here really stood out to me. And that's when I remember thinking of Escher drawings. It just looks like an impossible object, right? Next slide. I decided I would localize it. Freeze the top. Yeah? And then instead of using Gemini, which I had done for my last task, I didn't really want it to be biased. I used this localized image. I fed it into ChatGPT and I asked it a simple question. Next slide. What is this? That's an impossible object, specifically a Penrose style impossible cube / architectural illusion. In plain terms, it's a drawing that cannot exist in real 3D space, even though every local part looks structurally valid. The geometry contradicts itself when your brain tries to assemble it into a single coherent object. This style is closely associated with M.C. Escher type visual paradoxes and later mathematical illusion art. Why it feels unsettling. Your brain keeps trying to lock into a perspective, but the angles and connections don't reconcile. Whatever, who cares? I didn't ask for your analysis, ChatGPT. But interesting. Next slide. I want you to get right back in here tight. Screenshot this thing. All right, perfect. And why don't we kill that? Turn up the light. Just bear with me for just a second, you guys. Thank you so much. And can you see me? Okay, beautiful. Now, what I want you to understand here, first of all, 2 caveats, okay? I cannot, and I have not technically been able to prove that the e-management that we see in the emails, correct? For related to Jeffrey Epstein, Jean-Luc Brunel, etc., and so on. I can't necessarily prove to you And sorry, and then it was filed by Darren Endike in 2006 as E-Management New York LLC. I'm still trying to find the tie that like doubly corroborates that basically that concept became this thing. But regardless, even if it doesn't touch, the circle is, or the loop is closed on Donald Trump, specifically his campaign, specifically Trump for President LLC. And if you think on some level that, oh, sorry, what's happening? Oh, take off my glasses. Yes, so you can see a bunch of glare. So the loop is closed in terms of that website's association with Donald Trump for President LLC. The person who is the executor and the filing lawyer is Dave. Oh, sorry. And he's doing it on behalf of Trump for President LLC. Can you guys hear me, by the way? Everything okay, audio-wise?
You sound wonderful.
Okay, great. So really quick, I do, just stay on the screen, please, for a moment, actually. Can you turn this back on, the projector? Okay. Just give me 1 second, because I kind of just have to, don't turn it on yet, I'll tell you when. I'm just going to show you something really quick, because you could theoretically, yes, make the argument like you don't have any proof that Trump for President LLC is actually attached to Donald Trump or his campaign, right? Theoretically, some random person from anywhere could have like made that LLC. They could have, in advance of Trump's run. Hold on 1 second. Trump for president. Okay. In advance of Trump's run, could have like purchased that LLC. They could have made up those two terms, Trumpocrat, Trump Publican. But if that were the case, hold on. Give me 1 second, guys. Bear with me. I'm sorry to do this to you. All right. If this isn't his campaign's official LLC, then why did Time Magazine publish this article in July of 2015? Donald Trump applied to trademark Trump Publican and Trumpocrat. Businessman and presidential hopeful Donald Trump wanted to add some new trademarks to his collection. The Washington Post reports the Trump team filed applications to trademark Trumpocrat and Trump Publican earlier this year. The trademarks are currently classified as abandoned, which we saw on the USPTO website. It happened in March of 2015, but they still can be looked up through the USPTO database. This isn't the first time Trump has made use of the trademark office. The real estate magnate has already secured some notable trademarks through the years. The Post notes, including The Boardroom and Miss Photogenic Teen USA. Trump's latest applications would have covered the use of the terms on a variety of items, from t-shirts to cufflinks. I've got one more or two more for you. Let's see here. Let's do Trumpocrat Newsweek. Also, Newsweek reported on this. Donald Trump trademarked Trumpocrat and Trump Publican. I won't bore you to tears. It's the same shit. This was published July 30th, 2015. It says the exact same thing. And just for funsies, why don't we? So we have three heavily vetted, reputable reporting agencies posting this. Let's see here. Just for fun. Washington Post. It's behind a paywall. I could like put it through smry.ai, but whatever. Hopefully you'll take my word for it. And if you don't, that's fine. I'm happy to send it to you privately in DM should you ask me to. Point is, the loop is closed in terms of Donald Trump for President LLC, who is absolutely attached to Donald Trump as an individual. There is no question that he is tied to this, I don't know, OnlyFans digital creator network. That to me looks like an escort service, but that's my opinion. That's for you to decide if you think that that's what it might be. I'm not going to make an allegation. I'm not even going to say anybody committed a crime here.
Really quick question.
Yep.
What was the date what was the date that the trademark was applied for?
So its first use would have been in the summer of 2014 before it was actually registered, and then it was registered January of 2015, and then abandoned by March the 3rd. And even these articles like the Washington Post, etc., even like speak on that. They say it was abandoned. I don't think that in the end, like Trumpocrat was really going to work out. You know what I mean? And Trump publican doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. But point is, yes,
Just I'm taking notes. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure.
it's okay. Of course.
Trump for President LLC. I was under the impression that the first use of that website was in July of 2014. But you're saying it was also the patent's first use was also July of 2014.
Yes, according to Trademarkia and the USPTO, it doesn't even like get into detail. It just says first use. I think July. I can find that for you if you want me to.
No,
I can go back to the website, but okay.
And then Trump applied for the trademarks in what? I missed the date on the articles that you were showing.
Here, let me go to one that's not behind a paywall, actually. So let's just go back to Time Magazine. Give me a second.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be exact, just the year.
No, it's okay. It was definitely 2015 if you're just looking for the year, but hold on. Let's see here. Let's see if this
guys,
one talks about the abandonment.
While Tapley looks that up, can you guys please gift the panelists? Please gift the shit out of the panelists, whatever you have to spare. We really want to thank them for taking their time to be here. So please gift the panelists. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Now, here we go. Newsweek, right here. Both trademarks were first filed on January the 25th of this year and were abandoned less than 2 months later on March 11th. And that perfectly correlates with what it says on both Trademarkia and the USPTO. Date of abandonment, March. First filed January 25th of that same year. First use the summer prior. And loosely, actually, I don't have to do it loosely. It's right here. Though both trademarks have now been abandoned, the intended use was for bumper stickers, campaign buttons, pennants, decals, coffee mugs, banners, baseball caps, t-shirts, bookends, salt and pepper shakers, posters, shirts, ties, cufflinks, colognes, chocolate, nameplates, keyrings, eyewear, playing cards, surfboards, additions of automobiles, other items susceptible to be used as political advertising, membership organizations, all manner of political paraphernalia, all designed to augment the candidacy of Donald Trump.
Thank you so much for that.
You're very welcome. I haven't any more slides for you. Let me grab this, please. I'm going to reverse 1 second. It's this camera. Okay, now I can like actually see you guys. Give me a second. And so listen, something that I want you guys to understand is while the loop is closed in terms of Donald Trump for president to LLC and its relationship to Penrose, I've already said to you what I cannot corroborate at this point. Oh, thank you. That was very floppy. What I still have not, admittedly, have not actually been able to tie here. I cannot technically prove. We're still continuing to work on it. That like this, like nebulous e-management with David Marmon as the executor and the lawyer, if you will, is technically the one that Jean-Luc Brunel, Jeffrey Epstein, etc., were conspiring to sort of build in the early aughts. But this is the only observable iteration of an e-management that kind of correlates with what it is, what they were trying to build. And if I am ultimately, like with my researchers, able to prove that, the loop closes twice. What's going to happen then, when and if I'm able to prove that, is that it's going to completely subvert any notion that Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were no longer in contact after 2004. I'll tell you that. And that would be 2 loops closed. And I'm working on it. Like I said, we'll see what happens there. And like I said, from the top of this live, smoking guns are relative. It's kind of up to you, depending on like this observable trail. How bad do you think this is, right? But I think it's a little bit more observable than a birthday card or a pull quote from 2003 from a Vanity Fair article with Donald Trump saying, "I know him well. I heard he likes them young." My jaw was on the floor at every turn of this entire investigation. Every person that I kind of made these reveals to, It isn't necessarily that like any of this even really amounts to a crime outside of a potential campaign finance violation, but I'm not a lawyer. That's outside of my wheelhouse. It's not illegal, I guess, to own like an alleged high-end escort service. It's not illegal to be interested in representing OnlyFans models, but it's probably illegal to pay for it with campaign funds if anybody were to ever. Oh,
Yeah, and no,
Go ahead.
Tapley, wasn't there some connection with that and Stormy Daniels?
oh, well, only in the sense. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Yes. Okay, so only. Sorry about that. So only. Can we turn up the lights here? This is a little creepy for me. All right, thank you. Now, so only in the sense like if I actually make that connection and it looks like on some level that like if I can prove that Trump for President LLC was actually like is attached to the Darren Endike filing of e-management from 2006. And if you're able to prove like on some level that like that LLC, any monies from that LLC like went to this e-management and they're the same one, I only spoke and Stormy Daniels in terms of like it could basically be that result. We already have an established precedent of Donald Trump using campaign funds for sex workers. So that's really the only context or the only connection to Stormy Daniels. It's just a theoretical one, right? Or like a cooperative one, if you will. But there's no like direct connection that I've seen to like Stormy Daniels with this story, if that's what you're asking.
No, I thought you had just said something about a payment from that account to Stormy Daniels, but I could
No,
have totally
what I was saying
misheard
is
you.
the whole Stormy Daniels, like the crime in Stormy Daniels was not cheating on his wife. It was not exposing his mushroom dick while watching Shark Week. It was that he paid her off into silence via an NDA while using campaign contributions, which is illegal.
Okay, got you. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that I'm tracking everything correctly here. Okay. So David Marmon is the person who applied for Trump for President LLC or was running it. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's the lawyer. He's like the filing lawyer and essentially the executor. The same thing that Darren Endike is or was sort of to like Epstein, if you will.
Okay. And he also was running this Penrose.
Correct.
Okay.
And it appears as if sort of, at least in terms of the filing goes, right? Like incorporating in New Mexico, it would obviously be senior since he runs that like 501c3 like website, right? Like that's literally his expertise. The old man, he's Harvard, Stanford educated, graduated from USC. That's his business. His son is the recruiter. He's the ladies' man. He's the one that actually officiates deals and finds the models, sends them over to the company, connects them with clients,
Okay. So the father was the lawyer.
and boosts their brands.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay. So the father was the lawyer, and the son was the one running Penrose.
correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. The letter that we see with the impossible object on it. This
Yes.
is from Donald Trump to George Heraney.
Correct. Husband of the first person to ever sue Donald Trump for sexual assault, Jill Hart.
Okay. Now, like that letterhead, Trump chose to use that image. Is that
That was his official insignia. I have multiple letters of him doing that or using
Okay.
it.
And then, so the impossible object it's the same name or essentially the same thing. The Penrose thing, it connects to David Harmon, and then the letter was sent to George, but it's something
Marmon.
that uses often.
It's
David
something
Marmon.
he used often. He abandoned it like by the turn of the century. It's no longer his insignia.
So so David Marmon applies for the patents. They're abandoned in March of 2015.
Yes.
So very clearly he's connected with Trump. So is the direct connection here that Trump knows about Penrose and use it. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify.
So the thing to focus on here is that you cannot detach this management entity, right? Which is obviously a shell company, right? That pushes you over to a service that basically works with OnlyFans creators, right? And it's up to you whether you, or not you think it's actually like an escort service. But if you actually just go and look at the Instagram page, it's pretty clear. And again, the nebulous phrasing, like on all of these sites, is very, very typical of exactly how these services work, even before the beginning of the internet. Just as a quick example to you. So I'll do this very quickly. Something that a lot of people do not understand is that, or don't remember, I guess, is that in 1996, there was a woman named Shannon Marketic, who was a former Miss California, who then competed in Miss Universe in 92 and 93. Another woman named Brandy Sherwood, and another woman from the UK named Paula Bradbury. They were pageant queens and they were models. In this era, all of these women's agencies got calls from this weird nebulous talent agency called Caliber with a K. And they said to them, listen, we have pre-screened your client, Shannon Marketic, Brandy Sherwood, etc. If you sign an NDA, we're going to reveal who our client is. And our client has pre-screened your models and they're interested in them. And what we want to do is we want to pay you or pay your model $3,000 a day for spokesmodeling and promotional services. They're entitled to keep any jewelry or gifts that they might receive from the client while they're there. No sex required. They're put on an Air Singapore flight. They're flown over to the Sultan of Brunei, who at the time was literally the world's richest man. They had their passports revoked. They were STD tested and they were forced into a harem, as Shannon put it, of 30 of the most beautiful women she had ever seen, most of them being underaged. In the 32 days Shannon was trapped there, she alleges that they were expected to sexually service rich and powerful men who came through the compound. There was even an event in which they were gassed and raped. Okay? The point is, this was a shell company that baited them, and the Caliber was a shell company. I can't tell you who's actually behind the shell company right now. It has to do with a very elite medical clinic. I can't get into that because I'm not done investigating it. But the point is, it wasn't a modeling agency. It was a shell company. The actual address, if you went to the Caliber address, it's a shitty mail depot in a strip mall. Okay? Point is, they were trafficked there. Shannon came back to the United States and filed a lawsuit against the Sultan of Brunei and his rapist brother, Prince Jeffrey. And our Department of Justice looked at the case, gave those two men diplomatic immunity. It killed Shannon's case. Meanwhile, the UK courts went after them, and Prince Jeffrey rushed to settle for $500,000. Weirdly enough, a few months later, Brandy Sherwood actually would become Donald Trump's first Miss USA, because he acquired the pageant in that same year in 96 and ran his next pageant months later in 97. My point is, we don't even have to talk about Trump's implications in that one, of which there are many. Again, I'm not fully ready to report on that yet. I'm telling you that back in the day, it was the same scenario, but without the internet. It was basically shell corporations bind you to, like NDA, they offer you just kind of like an innocent premise. And by the time you meet the client, if you will, the work is actually prostitution. That's what it is. And this is exactly the same scenario in the digital age. That's it. And again, I said from the beginning of this live, I said that I'm not actually going to make any kind of direct allegation. I've never said that anybody has committed a crime here. But if the task, right, in terms of Trump, is to connect him to sex services, if you will. If the world is talking about him, potentially being connected to like an illicit world of sex work, of sex predation, etc., and so on. I mean, the best that we've had for the past fucking 20 years, outside of the birthday book, again, is just old Howard Stern tapes. It's him saying he used to know Jeffrey well. He heard that he likes them young, etc., and so on. And like I said from the onset of this, smoking guns are relative, right? Like, I get it. Nothing appears illegal to have been happening here outside, again, for the potential of the campaign to have like spent money on this. But my point is like, I needed to exhibit this because this is a definitive pattern that has a defined paper trail. This is not an accusation. This isn't an allegation. This is a digital paper trail that literally anybody could follow. And it is enshrined in time across multiple, like, reputable reporters, as well as the U.S. Patent Office, et cetera, and so on. It's an observable trail. And again, this is all stuff that we found in the last 72 hours. And you just have to ask yourself, how many coincidences in a row do you think stack up in a line before it's the truth? And again, it's relative to you. I'm not here to prove that Donald Trump committed a crime. I'm here to prove to you that at minimum, Donald Trump's campaign is connected to what is at minimum like an OnlyFans network, and almost certainly, allegedly, in my opinion, for entertainment purposes, is a fucking escort service. And then you tie that to the fact that you literally had Jeffrey Epstein himself and his lawyer, Darren Endike, filing for this in 2006, while Jeffrey Epstein with those 3 French rapists were conspiring to build an e-modeling management. Again, ask yourself how much of a coincidence you think that is. Any questions? And hi, Jel. Welcome up to the panel.
I have a question, Tapley. Did you find some things, some of this stuff in the files themselves, the Epstein files?
Yes, all of those emails that I show, or the beginning of the slides, the stuff that was like talked. Here, let me pull this up. Like all of. Give me 1 second. I have to.
Yeah,
pull
the
it back
first
up.
slideshow. The first slideshow, and sorry I called you before, Tapley.
okay.
It was like completely off center and nobody could see anything. So I was like,
That's
SOS,
okay.
But you fixed it. Yeah, those are all from the files that specific. What?
Nothing.
Really
I
quick,
thought,
Dave,
I thought she
listening.
was saying
thank you
something.
so much for having me.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Wait, are you done, Jel?
I mean, I didn't know if you were done. I mean, I can provide context or you can continue.
You go
It's up
ahead,
to you.
Jel. You go ahead.
Yeah. All of the like the stuff in the slideshow, it's basically, I think it's what's important here isn't like jumping to some, like, we're not jumping to like a dramatic conclusion about like one person or like one singular company. I think what we all have to look at here is how the structure of the industry evolved, right? So like in the 80s and 90s, modeling was essentially very physical and centralized. Like modeling scouts would travel, the agencies would control access to the girls, and geography was a factor as well. They were traveling all over the world, and then when the internet was created, it kind of changed that completely. So suddenly you don't necessarily need to travel to scout, because basically girls and women are uploading themselves. Like, you don't need casting calls. You basically can build a database. And in one of the slideshows that maybe didn't have the context at the time, in one of the slides, there is a record of, after a specific timeline, where there's records of Epstein having association with the e-management brand on his JP Morgan bank financial statements. There is a 2011 model database proposal email that like kind of it's redacted basically, but it's to Jeffrey, and it basically states like, "Dear Jeffrey, I'd like to propose you discuss the plan which I always had in my head but needed some time to prepare. It can earn a lot of money. I'm already earning in Russia without any investment and can expose in a coming year. It's a fashion network online. The network already exists, doesn't need a lot of money to be developed. There's a very smart guy involved with an IT degree and work experience in the fashion and model business." Then he talks about next model management and specific models, and says that already 10,000 models have signed up online. And so keep in mind, this is like this person is based in Europe. He's associating it with connections and investors through the United States and Russia as well. And there's already an online large network database that is going to be expanded globally. That is essentially the proposal. And, that could have turned into nothing, but I think it's just interesting to kind of set this up as like the overarching evolution of how the internet could have, changed things in terms of, I don't know, nefarious purposes, because there's a lot of like consulting or management, and there's ways that these people can essentially, overarchingly like control these databases. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with sex work. There's nothing wrong with an online database. What we're essentially saying is there could be recruitment, and the scale will explode, right? So the oversight will get a lot thinner. And then age verification also can become easier to manipulate, right? When there's traveling, like there's jurisdictions that can become like blurry and informal, right? So networking events or like collaborations, like they will replace the traditional agency structures. So when you line up that broader evolution up against like the timeline we're looking at now, I think it's to have discussions about like modeling acquisitions in the early 2000s, and then the creation of like the e-management agency in 2006, corporate filings and all the banking references, and then it's still active in the online database. I don't know. I just think it mirrors the exact transition from like physical scouting to digital intake pipelines. Okay. We can see like a cultural continuation of that shift, like throughout influencers and online sex work platforms, invite only collabs, private parties, stuff like that. So on the surface, much of that is definitely like illegal adult content, right? It's voluntary participation. There's consent involved, but like structurally, it resembles the same pipeline. Okay. It seems like it's all on the surface and it's fine. And a lot of it is fine, but like it's promoting aspirational young women to seek their exposure using like a visible online global database and like international traveling, and, significant like power imbalances can stem from that. So I just think that it's a very important topic that we should be looking at, because we always say things in hindsight is 2020, but we're not looking at how things have really revolutionized and how we can, how the people that controlled those huge agencies, like the modeling agencies and pageantry, and the objectification of young women and minors, we're seeing that with Epstein. We're seeing how that was much bigger than anybody really thought it was. And it was involved with so many more elite people that controlled so many more entities and were able to commit crimes globally. So I think that we need to take that perspective into the present day. It's important. That's all.
I'm sorry to introduce. Is it possible for me to ask a quick question of Tapley or Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Tap, are you back?
Yes, I am. I'm sorry about that.
I
I'm
can
back.
put you back on the big screen. I wasn't sure if you just wanted to stay on camera.
No, I'm good. I had to pee and I'm sitting outside having a cigarette, so I don't want to do that on camera.
Okay,
But
so
by the way,
looks like
RJO Core is in.
I think it's
he
a
might
fake
be in the
account.
queue. Oh,
It's
okay.
only got 100 followers.
Yeah, it's a troll account.
Okay. Yeah, and by the way, hold on just a second. Somebody talk for 30 seconds because I have one more thing to read to you guys. Give me just a second, okay? Go ahead.
So if you want, hold on, sorry. So the people on the panel, you can go ahead and ask Tapley questions. Tapley, are you okay if a couple people want to request up and ask?
Yeah, anybody, and listen, like I can read. I see the comments. I'm ready to handle the heat. I totally understand. That's why I literally have been saying for days on panels. It's a closed loop. I'm never accusing anybody of a crime. This is about like a fucking pattern, okay? And I'm ready to face any backlash. You can bring up anybody you want to, but I do just quickly want to read to you something that I don't know how this even got left out, but this is from Raw Story, and this is from December 12th, 2025. Okay, new headline: New emails suggest Trump made insulting bid to fund Epstein-linked modeling project. Okay. Article. A new batch of more than 20,000 emails revealed that a Mr. Trump apparently offered to help fund a proposed modeling company spearheaded by Jeffrey Epstein in 2006. A proposal that was described in an email as, quote, ridiculous and insulting. The new batch of emails was obtained by Distributed Denial of Secrets, or DDoS Secrets, a nonprofit whistleblower group that shared them selectively with news outlets, including Raw Story. They differ from the document dump of 20,000 pages of the files from the Epstein's estate released by the House Oversight Committee. In early 2006, an individual by the name of Cecilia Steen, who Bloomberg has described as an, quote, assistant of Epstein, sent Epstein an email regarding a new, quote, project, the creation of a new company with proposed names being E-Models and E equals MC squared and E Management. According to the email, the proposed company would, quote, take over the assets of MC2 Model Management, an international modeling agency that operated out of New York, Florida, and Tel Aviv, Israel, and was founded by one of those three French rapists, Jean-Luc Brunel, a French model scout who launched MC2 with considerable financial backing from Epstein. In 2020, Brunel was accused of being involved in sex trafficking in association with Epstein and died by apparent suicide while awaiting sex trafficking charges in 2022. In a manner similar to how Epstein died while also awaiting his charges in 2019. While the email was sent to Epstein by someone named Steen, it was signed with the name Alain Kittler, the co-founder of Elite Model Management, a French modeling agency. I mentioned him earlier. Kittler co-founded Elite Model Management alongside John Casablancas, a French modeling agent who was friends with President Donald Trump and whose modeling agency represented Trump's daughter, Ivanka, when she was 15 years old. By the way, the photos from that era of her are fucking disgusting. And it's insane that she was ever represented at Elite because by that point, all of those men had been accused of rape multiple times. But regardless, on the creation of the new company, the email sent by Steen but signed by Kittler describes an apparent funding offer from a Mr. Trump. Last week, we also received a last written proposal from Mr. Trump. As expected, it was ridiculous and insulting, the email reads. Quote, the problem for us remains in the payment of our loans and commissions for 2005. We will seek some advice on how to handle it. Epstein, responding to the email on January the 17th, 2006, wrote that the details of the potential startup sounded like, quote, a good beginning, but asked for, quote, more details. Quote, can you tell me how much is currently owed to by Trump to you? And what is his position? Will he try to attach any ownership in E equals MC squared? Maybe you should only have an irrevocable option on the shares to avoid his litigation, Epstein wrote. While it's unclear specifically who Mr. Trump refers to, it could potentially be President Trump or Eddie Trump, a South African-born real estate developer with no relation to Donald Trump, and whose company purchased Elite Model Management in 2004 for just under $6 million. In 1980s, Donald Trump sued Eddie Trump over a dispute regarding their shared last name. That's the end of the story. Just a little bit. Yep. What's up, Mitty?
I'm just curious. Have you looked into the Trilateral Commission at all, or?
I have, but in what term, or under what term?
Well, I mean, with Epstein's involvement,
or
with the
in
Trilateral
what term?
Commission, or anything like that.
Yeah, like a